All right, everyone, this is going to be a quick one today. We're going to talk about Boolean operations, linear and circular patterns. So let's get started with Boolean operations. By the way, all three of these documents will be in the team, so make sure you just make a copy of it. And then what I'm looking for is for you guys to turn in the completed version that you'll see when we're done. So Boolean operations are basically the ability to combine or remove things based on some different features. And you probably heard the term Boolean in math, being if, else, true or false, those kind of things in terms of programming as well. And so basically we're looking at different ways that parts can intersect with each other and how we can use them to carve out or make other parts. So let's start out with the first one, which is Part Studio 1, which is union. What we're going to do here is we're going to click on Boolean, and we're going to choose union, and it's going to say tools. And we're just going to click here, and there's a bunch of these. We're going to hit shift and click and select all of them. And you'll notice that they were once multicolor, but now if I click the check mark, they're all gray. It's now all one solid piece. So you look at the bottom, you can see that they all make one piece. So that's what a union does. All right. On the Part Studio 2, now we're going to look at subtract. So this time I'm going to click on Boolean, and this one's a little bit different. When I click on subtract, you'll see that there's tools and targets. Targets are the things being modified. Tools are the things that you're using to modify. Typically, tools will go away once you've made the subtraction. So keep in mind that the thing that you want to keep is the target. So in this case, we want our tools to be all the little cylinders on the edge. So I'm going to click here and hold down shift and click there. And then my target, if I click here, is going to be the large cylinder. And you'll see that the tools become invisible, and I click on that. And now I have my nice little cylinder that does not have any more of those, but you'll notice it carved out the ridges in the cylinder because that's where the other smaller cylinders were. Last one is intersect. So intersect is here. And what we're going to do is actually make it so that we want to just keep the part that is touching this cylinder or intersects with this cylinder and nothing else. So this one's a little bit trickier. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to hit Boolean, and then we're going to select one of the cylinders and then select the center. Now, what we have to do is we're doing intersect here, and we have to check keep tools. Okay, and the reason why is because we're going to do this multiple times. And if you don't do it this way, then you'll lose everything. So I'm going to accept that. And then I'm going to do Boolean again. I'm going to click this cylinder. And this is intersect, keep tools, and check. And then again, intersect, select cylinder. Here it is, keep tools, check. And then Boolean again, intersect. And notice that I'm clicking the small cylinders first. The order really shouldn't matter for this because they're both considered tools, but you'll notice that they both can get removed because it's whatever's left over between the two. So I'm going to select that, click here, and do Boolean again, intersect, keep tools, select. So there's two ways you can do it. You can select the components first and then do Boolean, and then choose what you want to do, or you can just hit Boolean and then click on your tool, and oops, you can see that removed it, and so I would not have been able to complete my thing here. Now, by the way, you do want to make sure that you select the cylinder itself and not just the top. If you do that, then it will not intersect, and so your part will just disappear. So it's important that you select the part itself. You could use this list over here as well if you were getting confused, and that would work also. So I've almost made my way back around. I know that this is a bit tedious, but it's important to understand that because these two items barely intersect, you run into some kind of quirky issues if you don't do them all individually. So the question is, well, how do I get to seeing just the segments that I create? You'll notice there's now 22 parts. There was originally only 11. So as I go through here, if I hide the large cylinder, and then you'll notice that I see these little dotted regions in here. Okay, those are the actual intersection regions. So if I go here and start hiding these, you'll see that only the intersection regions will remain. So So I'm going to go through and hide this. By the way, this is not in the guide and it's not terribly intuitive, but the only way that you can see the created parts is by hiding the other parts, because again, it's only the parts that actually intersect. So there we go. There they all are. So that's what intersect looks like. It's only the components that are actually touching. So this whole curve was touching the cylinder, and therefore that whole curve and all the extrusion underneath it is kept. So that is intersect. Now, let's go to linear patterns. Oops. Apparently my session is timed out. So let's go back in here again. So pattern making is obviously very useful. A lot of times you'll have purposes for patterns, and there's patterns that you will see in your everyday life. And so one of the things I asked you to do is to look for some patterns and describe them in this week's discussion board. So we'll see some examples of this, but this is a simple linear pattern. We're going to start with Part Studio 1. I know that it defaults to Studio 2. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to add chamfer to this edge. So we're going to click here, and we're going to chamfer. And we're going to do two distances, and 0.06 and 0.12. There we go. So our chamfer set. And now what we want to do is we want to make 3 across and then 2 more rows like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this linear pattern tool. Now, I'm going to choose which entities I'm going to pattern. Now notice this is parts. There's only one part, which is this whole thing. I actually need to change this to feature. So if I click on feature, I can now choose my chamfer that I created, my pocket extrude, my pocket corner fillet, and my pocket base fillet. So if I don't select all of those, I'm going to run into some issues. Now direction. What direction do I want to run in? Well, I'm going to use the edge of this. I could also use the edge of this, but because this is the actual object I'm replicating, I'll use this edge. And then it's going to say, what's the distance? I'm going to do 1.5 inches, and I'm going to do 3. Notice that the count includes the original. So there's all 3. Now, in the same one, I'm going to click second direction. Now, this is where people will get like frustrated. They're like, well, I don't see anything. It is frustrating. For whatever reason, it does not scroll. Hit the tab button. That will move down to the next thing and then allow you to select the direction. So direction is going to be this line here. And distance is going to be 1.25 inches and 3. And you'll now see that we get all these nice, beautiful rows. Look at that. So it helps if you can zoom out a little bit, but that's our rows. So now I accept that. Now I have this nice ice cube tray, right, or whatever this thing is. Now that's by creating features. What if I want to create replications of parts in linear patterns? That's what the second one does. So what I'm going to do is I'll notice I have part 1, which is the base, and part 2, which is the little blue cube in it. I'm going to click on that linear pattern. Again, the same setting. So direction is going to be this edge. And then I want a distance of 1.5 and 3 and second direction. And then direction, I'm going to click on this edge here. And then again, if I can't see it, I'm just going to tab 1.25, 3. There they all are. Now you'll see that these are actually part of the mold here in the bottom. We probably don't want that. So one of the things that's nice is we can use the Boolean operations we used earlier, and we can do subtract. And the tools are going to be our linear pattern. Oops, that's not what I wanted. Get in there again. Sorry. So subtract is going to be tools, and then I can select these parts here this way. And then the target would be part 1, which is the base. And there it is. I can keep the tools, and I don't want those to fit in like perfectly. I need a little bit of an offset. So I'm going to choose offset and offset all. And I'm going to say 0.02. And that gives a little bit of an edge around these. So now I hit accept. Now my little ice cube tray actually has a little bit of a gap in here, so the parts can slide in and out relatively easily. So you can make things like puzzles and that kind of stuff with this. But that's using the Boolean feature. Remember, I used subtract, but I decided to keep the tools. I could have also done some other features, and you can figure out what those other features might have been, but subtract to me is the easiest one there. So that's linear parts. Last one of the day is circular parts, and I guess I'm going to have to refresh that browser again. So circular part pattern works very similar to a linear part pattern. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and select a circle this time, and I'm going to have it go around the circle. Now, since linear patterns run on like an X, Y linear motion, then you can just select a direction essentially, and it will follow that direction. However, in the case of this one, we're doing a circular motion. So circular motions always revolve around an axis. So if you remember, the revolve is one of the 4 features that you learned about at the very beginning of this semester. We have to have an axis of revolution that these parts will go around. So in this case, what we need to do is we need to make sure that this is unhidden. That is main body sketch. So if it comes to you looking like that, make sure you turn on main body sketch. And then what we need to do is we need to do a circular pattern. And what are we going to pattern? Well, we're not doing a part because notice this hole is not a part. We're going to do a feature pattern again. And we're going to say the hole and the chamfer. And then the axis is going to be this axis right here. I'm going to change the count to 5. And you'll notice that it automatically equally spaces them. And look at that. Nice and pretty. 5 all the way around, equally spaced, angle of 360 degrees. By the way, if I change this and made it 180, then you'll see they all appear on only one side. So that's just how many degrees of rotation it will use to calculate the spread of the circular pattern. Now, this could be squares or rectangles as well. The pattern itself is circular, so the feature itself does not have to be circular. It could be something else. But a lot of times when you have circular patterns, that's what you'll tend to see. So that's our circular pattern, so let's accept that. And we also have this rib here that we need to do a circular pattern on as well. Notice it's not a circle. It's just this rib that they've designed. So again, we're going to hit on the circular pattern, and we're doing a feature pattern. And we want triangular rib extrusion, and we want the fillet that goes with it. Don't do fillet 2. That's something different. You'll notice it highlights it. Axis pattern, or axis of pattern, is going to be this guy right here again. And look at that. Now, there's only 4. Obviously, that's not correct. Add 5. As soon as I click off of it, it recalculates it. There we go. No holes covered up. Part looks nice. We're going to go ahead and accept it. The last thing that they ask you to do is to select this circle here. And we just need to do a remove extrude. So we're going to remove through all. And I must not have selected it. There we go. And I should have a hole going all the way through it now. I accept it, and that's done. All right, so you should be able to turn in all 3 of these parts to the team. Make sure your name is on the end of the file names. That's it for this week. Make sure you go through the daily planner and complete the other activities for this day 15.